Hey everyone, hey, check this out. This is Tom and James. I believe my YouTube is finally back up. So if you missed last week's Tom and James, you'll have to go to Rumble for that, or the Tom and James YouTube station.
Steer Reich 2.
Steer right. I think we both have strike 2, aren't we? We both have 2 strikes. I'm hoping this doesn't get strike 3 for me today, or boo, I'm out. So, are you ready, James? Because you're going to be lit up. I'm going to totally light you up today. I know I am.
Okay, I just want everybody that watches these videos to know that Tom, on purpose, wants to light me up. He likes this. This is something that he enjoys doing. So, all of you that say that James overpowers and talks too much or whatever, this is done by design. Tom likes this nonsense. I just want you to know that.
It is. So check this out. When I was up in Lake Stevens, by the way, to the friends from Lake Stevens that sent me the email with the picture, I got it. I forgot to send it to James. James, after this, I'm going to send it to you because these people they really wanted to say hi to you. But there's another guy I met up there at Lake Stevens in Washington. And he says to me, on the Tom and James show, he goes, I know how you can control James. And he's trying to tell me. I said, I don't want to control James. I said, it's one of the highlights of my whole week is doing this show and throwing some gasoline and getting a match and letting it go. So it's exciting to me. So, hey, by the way, our prophecy conference is in Huntington Beach. It's coming up. It's going to be fantastic. James is there. Don's there. Don Stewart. I'll be there. We have a host of other speakers. William Feder, James. You know William Feder. He's speaking.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to be there. So I got William Federer coming. It's going to be and your new buddy Olivier Melnick is going to be there. It's going to
be new buddy.
Your new buddy. You guys totally connected.
Are we a little jelly?
I can't. I can't even get a hold of him anymore. He's become famous after
you're a little jelly, huh?
I introduced you 2 guys together. and there's a list. This is going to be a fantastic conference. There's not a lot of spaces left, but. We got some of the best speakers in the whole country coming together, Huntington Beach. Go to hopeforOurTimes.com, go to events, it is there. Okay, James, you ready to get really fired up? Because you're going to.
Oh, goodness gracious.
You're going to. Okay, here. I'm just going to go through a few things. I don't know what we're going to get to. Here's this one. Head of U.S. Teachers Union claims Jewish values keep schools closed, blames rich Jews. Did you hear about that?
No,
yeah.
But it sounds like Satan is what it sounds like.
Yes, it does. Isn't that kind of how it went with Hitler, starting blaming the rich Jews? Okay, Russian fleet, this is out of Debka, Russia fleet to secure sanctions busting Syria-bound Iranian oil shipments. So Russia's helping Iran get around any sanctions. There's this. You ready for our favorite false prophet? The Vatican wishes Muslims as bearers of hope, divine blessings during Ramadan. All right, we're just getting
bearers of hope while they're in airplanes saying "Ya ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah" while they blow up.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Forgive me. I'm sorry.
Well, this is the Pope. I mean, we're going to get to a couple that are going to really light you up here in a minute. But this is supposed to, and there's so many people, Protestant and Catholic, that follow this guy like he's the next Messiah. And you go, sure looks to me like he's auditioning to be the false prophet of Revelation chapter 13. Okay, here's another one. Another person that's in the news a lot, Bill Gates, to address 40 heads of state at climate summit. I'm telling you, James, these climate laws that are coming are going to be worse than the coronavirus restrictions. They're coming. And I got 4 articles like this. Green New Deal gets a reboot. Democrats say it is a revolution, while GOP blasts it as a socialist super package. It is. This is a socialist super package, and it's bad news. Biden administration, Blinken says that climate change is the centerpiece of America's national security policy and the tool to fight against systemic racism. That is coming, is these climate laws, James. I know we don't have time to get into it today, but we got to get into it because this stuff is going to be bad. And here's this. This is out of Jihad Watch. Stability in the Middle East now depends on how serious we are about tackling climate change. Okay. We're not even to where we're going to get yet. because I'm still going to light you up. Ready? Get the bleep out of New York. BLM protesters demand white restaurant owners, plural, leave the city. Okay, we're getting closer. Biden says Congress needs to pass George Floyd police reform bill after Chauvin conviction. Okay, and you ready for this one? LeBron James, you sitting down? Tweets and then deletes. Threat to cop who protected black girl from being stabbed. This is what he said. He said, "You're next." That's what he said. Now, James, we're also going to go somewhere else in a minute. We're going to get over to the Dodger Stadium because they have a new segregation policy based upon vaccinated and unvaccinated. And we're being divided. And it's very interesting. But right now, I want to focus on LeBron James. You've seen the picture that they had on his tweet. He actually has a picture of this guy. There it is. There it is. What's his tweet say? "You're next."
He's a stupid fool. I'm fit to be tied with this arrogant fool. You mean to tell me, LeBron James, let's just get this straight. You mean to tell me that this guy is going to be hung to dry is basically what you're implying. We're coming after you next. Well done, LeBron James, when a 16-year-old girl, 16, after an officer continues to tell her to stop, put it down, picks up a knife to go to stab another woman to death. And in the process of her raising her knife to stab this woman in the head, this officer takes 4 shots in a very controlled and a very accurate fashion and puts this woman to a stop from killing another person. What would you rather do? If he was a white supremacist, he would let everybody kill everybody and he wouldn't even take any kind of action. Are you out of your mind, LeBron James? You are a basketball player, and quite frankly, you might be good at that, but you are no good at anything else. I'm sorry to say that. You have no wisdom and you have no talent in these areas. People look up to you as a role model, and you continue to lie, the gaslighting lie of trying to hurt your own community by kicking the people that your community needs the most. It's the minorities that need the police the most in their neighborhood. So you want them all gone, LeBron, while you're sitting in your $17 million home and you're surrounded by a whole bunch of people that are protecting you with their guns, private security, that people are scrounging to pay for a ticket to go watch you play. They spend half their paycheck to go watch you play for a few minutes, only for you to scrounge and to rip these people. You don't care about the black community. You've never cared about the black community. You don't sit in these living rooms and start counseling people, of them, and to care for them, and to watch out for one another, and to teach fathers to be there for their families. No, you are a social justice warrior, and you are the worst kind. You are the kind that jumps to conclusions and makes assertions that are based on false information. So then you tweet that nonsense right there that says you're next, while you're taking the worst picture that you can take of that courageous man who saved the life of another precious human being. You are out of your mind, LeBron James. I'm sorry. That is insane. The insanity of that foolishness knows absolutely no bounds. It's disgusting, and I'm absolutely sick and tired of watching this kind of thing happen again and again and again.
This is awful. And I'm guessing that on the other hand, if these white cops who were there, if they didn't do anything and then the girl gets stabbed, guess what? It would have been, hey, you're a white supremacist.
Tom,
you let it happen.
This has nothing.
But I mean, it would have been turned against them either way. It's a lose-lose situation because they were white cops.
Danged if he does, danged if he doesn't, number one. But number two, it's like the race of that police officer should not make a dang bit of difference. In minority cities, typically the demographic representation of law enforcement officers is significant. Okay, in some of these in some of these inner cities, the demographic representation of people in that community represent the demographic of that community. You have a majority of people. So you mean to tell me that the majority of law enforcement officers, which are minorities, are also white supremacists because they choose to enforce the law and to uphold the things that they promise to uphold? It's absolutely crazy. 385 million contacts were made last year with law enforcement officers. Of those, there were probably 45 or 50 officer-involved shootings where somebody was unarmed. And by unarmed, it is a very loose definition of what unarmed means. Unarmed means I pick up a gun, I shoot somebody, I put the gun down, I'm not holding it anymore. Officer doesn't see that I'm holding it. There's a shooting that takes place. Unarmed is person goes for the weapon of the officer. Unarmed could be them, yes, using a vehicle in an attempt of a vehicular homicide. They will not classify the vehicle as a weapon. He was shot when he's unarmed. Of the many people, of the 45 to 50 people, that number is still up in the balances. They go back and forth. Of the 45 to 50 people that were shot that they say were unarmed, 14 of them were black. 23 were white. Okay, based on the statistic that we're talking about, you look at 2019, the statistic is even more favorable to point out the fact that there is not the type of racial problem that everybody says there are. Literally, you think about that. You look at 2020 and you consider the fact that there are 14 or 15 people that say that they say that have been shot by law enforcement officers who were unarmed. Yet a law enforcement officer in the case of 2020 is almost 30 times more likely to be shot by a black man than an officer is to actually shoot a black man. Now you tell me who's the one that's being hunted right now. You want to talk about where the real murders are? How about the 1,500 black babies that are being killed every day? And yes, I sound like a broken record, but if you really want to deal with social justice, if you really want to talk about equality, how about we talk about the fact that 3% of the population of women, 3% of the population of women in our country that are childbearing capable are black. 3%, yet they account for 50% of the abortions that are taking place in the country. Something is very, very wrong. Why isn't anybody talking about the murders that have gone on in this nation last year of black men by other black men? 6% of the population is responsible for 9,000 deaths of black people. Yet they won't talk about that. They're worried about the 14, and they don't even know the absolute consequence or the absolute details of the story. That's inconsequential to them. They could care less about any of that stuff. The only thing that they're worried about, the only thing that they're thinking about right now is whatever will drive their narrative to cause them to be able to communicate and propagate their Marxist ideals. That's really what we're dealing with here. It is absolutely disgusting. If you want to deal with the core tenets of the problem, you're not going to be dealing with all these other reforms that everybody's talking about. Their definition of police reform is defund the police or literally eliminate the police. And their new definition is a federalized police department. Yeah. Sounds like Marxism to me. This is ridiculous. LeBron James is a fool. He's an absolute fool.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
That's, James, you're spot on. That's where this is going. It's not about the black community. The black community, I believe, has been used by the government to bring about this Marxist society. I think that it's terrible what's happening. This coming out this week, Congress, from Biden, Congress needs to pass George Floyd police reform bill after Chauvin conviction. This is about Marxism. This is about bringing along a federalized police force. And if you look, I mean, it's real simple. If you look where these cities have been pressing to defund the police and where you've had police retiring or resigning, saying we're not going to be involved anymore in these big cities. Baltimore, I think, was announced this week, they're down 700 police officers, and they are watching their severe crimes skyrocket through the roof. So this is not really about caring about the communities. And if you just look at the facts, you can tell they don't really care about anybody. It is about transforming America, and the only way they can transform it, there's certain things they have to do. One of them is they have to silence the Christian that believes the Bible is true, the one that genuinely lives by the Bible. Not the
ones that will keep them honest and tell the truth. truth. Right.
Yeah. Not the ones who claim to be, but they're actually woke. They don't have to worry about them. It's silence the true Christian, and they have to change the police force across the United States if they're going to bring about a Marxist society. That's what this is about. So I look at this from my perspective. It looks to me as if the black community in America is being manipulated and used to bring this about. And once it gets there, I think they're going to be sidelined again. And I think it's just going to be that much more destructive. It's already proving to be more destructive to the black community what they are doing. It's proving to be.
I just wish,
just where it is right now.
I wish people would see it. I wish people would see the double standard. The people that need law enforcement officers the most are those in the inner city. They need enforcement more than anybody else. And this whole nonsense of defund the police, listen, if you defund the police, then you take away money for training. If you take away money for training, you're going to have more of these incidents that create all kinds of controversy. It's absolutely ridiculous. You can have it one way or you can have it the other. George Floyd's family sued the city because of the incompetence and the so-called negligence in the training process, because those officers were trained to use their knees on the neck of their suspects. It was a training thing. The city conceded to the fact that they trained their officers to do so, paid out $27 million, and yet the defense attorney is too I don't know what's wrong with the defense attorney, but the defense attorney doesn't even point out the fact that the city conceded that they trained Chauvin that way. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not defending Chauvin. I don't think Chauvin should be the police. I think he's a bad example of law enforcement. And don't get me wrong, I think that what he did was completely stupid, and he should pay the price for the foolishness of his actions. And I'm only making that assertion based on the video that I saw, right? I don't know the rest of the story, and I'm not one of the members of the jury, but certainly that guy shouldn't be the police. And, you know, if the jury says that he needs to be in jail, then my goodness, I'm all in with that. I completely agree. He shouldn't have done that. But why in the world are we not telling the truth about the situation? We're making this all about black and white when in reality, we're not identifying what the real problems were. If the city conceded to the fact that they trained Chauvin to do that kind of a thing and paid $27 million out to the family of George Floyd, then why are they saying that Derek Chauvin walked outside of his training and walked outside of his expertise? That's how he was trained. There's negligence going on here. It's complete and total negligence. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't care. You can have all the training in the world on applying your knee to a person's neck. But when you're on that person's neck for that long when they're in custody, that's just outright stupid. Forgive me for saying it. It's just dumb. I don't think there's any excuse for it. I can't see a context in which there's any kind of an excuse for it. Whether or not he died of a drug overdose, it still isn't acceptable. And the bottom line is I'm never going to condone that kind of an action. But the worst part about all of this is we continue to avoid the real issues. And because we avoid the real issues, we're not going to solve the real problems. We don't have real solutions because we don't know the real problems. Instead, we've got Maxine Waters that's out there basically saying, let's basically light it all up. Basically, I'm going to get more. We should get more confrontational if we don't get the result that we want to get. It's this mob mentality, and they call her a hero. They say she's doing the right thing. Yet the president will get up there on the 6th and say, let's peaceably, right, protest. Let's peaceably make our voice known. And yet what? They want to take him to jail. They want to impeach him. They want all of that. This cartoon, look, this political cartoon, I wasn't even going to show this, but this political cartoon says it all. I think it's the perfect picture of what's really going on. That right there speaks it all. That is the perfect form of political satire in the world, right? Mm-hmm. I think it is just one of the funniest pieces of cartoon that I've seen in a little while, and it's absolutely true.
Yeah, I'd say it's funny, but it's true. And that's the sad part. It is absolutely true. And not only that, but people that were arrested for the January 6th thing, some of them are still in jail. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking. Oh, yeah. I believe that we have a case that's building in our country where there are more and more political prisoners. There's always been to some extent, but we've been watching it build, and that's what's this country is being transformed, and the world is being transformed. The problem is America, as it has been, is a huge problem for what is coming. And so we're watching all of these different things that are transforming everything. And I'm gonna give you something else to just think about too. So you got that, right? We have this. Listen, this is about transforming America to the place that these globalists want it to be transformed to. And we have these Marxists that are running all these things. So I want to get to the Pope here. In fact, let me get to the Pope for just a second before I go to the last story. I want to get back to the Pope. You got something else you want to say first?
Let's go.
Okay. So the Pope. I'm looking at this guy. I'm reading everything that he says. He's this religious leader, James, that has the attention of the largest CEOs of the largest corporations in the world. He has the attention of all these different political leaders throughout the world on both sides of he has them from Russia. He's got them from the Western world. He has all these guys. And then he has these religious leaders in America that are Protestant, that pretty much bow down to this Pope. And then back to the article I quoted earlier, Vatican wishes Muslims as bearers of hope, divine blessings during Ramadan. I'm looking, and then the Pope is the same guy who traveled to what was Iraq recently, in the area formerly known as Babylon, and he was trying to unite Judaism, Islam, and his fake Christianity. And I look at Revelation chapter 13. The false prophet comes along. He has two horns like a lamb. He's going to be a fake Christian, but he's going to speak like the devil. So I can't say that this Pope is that false prophet, but my goodness, I look at him, sure looks to me like I would say he's auditioning for the position. He's trying to get it if he's not it.
Look, Tom, everything we're seeing right now is a dry run for what we're going to see in the last days, right? All of the things that we've been talking about are all indicative of the things that we know are going to happen later on down the line. All of the conditioning that's going on right now in our society is preparing us for the things that we read about all the way through the book of Revelation. Everything after Revelation chapter 4 and after, we're seeing it all being conditioned for that process. Revelation chapter 13 is absolutely no exception. We know that the church will be raptured, and at that point, the church age is through. God is now beginning to deal with the Jews. In the process of dealing with the Jews, what does he do? He raises up the final Antichrist, but the final Antichrist has no desire to have anything to do with anything that's religious at all. He hates religion. He wants nothing to do with it. Matter of fact, I actually think he's going to be a Gentile. I don't think he's going to be a Jewish.
I do too.
And I think
agree.
that and I think he's going to rely heavily upon one person that is going to have this existential set of powers that's going to be able to manipulate the minds and the hearts of those that have some semblance of religion, so that they will start to follow this final Antichrist with a cult following, with a religious bent. And just like the former Caesars that existed during the Roman Empire, the ancient Roman Empire, he is going to set himself up to be viewed as God and to be worshiped as God. And that's when the Jews are going to recognize that he is a false God, that they missed the Messiah. The Messiah is Jesus Christ, and they're going to become the greatest evangelists alive at that time. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So congratulations, Pope. You might not be the false prophet, but you are most definitely trying out for the spot, and you are doing a phenomenal job at doing so, because you, my friend, are behaving in a very, very, very evil way. And I think it doesn't take anybody to be able to see that. You don't have to have much wisdom of religious or biblical things to understand that the Pope, yeah, something smells bad, real bad. You know, I'm sorry to do that, but that's just the reality of it.
I know, I got your point. No, I also look at it. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 tells us, God says, I will send them strong delusion so that they will believe the lie, because they would not receive the love of the truth. Because of the rejection of Christ by a Christ-rejecting world, the delusion will be sent. We can already tell there's some kind of delusion that it seems to be this world is prepared for. So when you look at a false prophet rising, there's going to be miracles and lying wonders that are working between him and the Antichrist. You see these two that are going to be rising at the same time. The world's going to be in a delusion, so they will believe it. They're going to go for this stuff hook, line, and sinker. It's going to be a very powerful delusion. And this is another reason that you need to stay in the Word. And James, you said that you look at everything as being a dry run for what's coming. Okay, listen to this. This from our friend Don Stewart. Okay, ready for this? This just came in. He sent it to both you and me. Okay, I'm going to comment on this in a second, but Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles, California, will have a fully vaccinated fan section to debut tomorrow. at a game versus the Padres. Now, think of that, James. I'm going to read this to you, okay? You ready? In 1961, former President Ronald Reagan said this. This is a quote from Reagan in 1961. And here we are, 60 years later? This is a quote. One of the traditional methods of imposing statism or socialism on a people has been by way of medicine. It's very easy to disguise a medical program as a humanitarian project. Most people are a little reluctant to oppose anything that suggests medical care for people who possibly can't afford it. Reagan reasoned that once a government or a tyrannical power has your medical information, it can dictate your life or diminish you. And so we look at what's happening. Dodger Stadium this Saturday, tomorrow, is saying, okay, during this game, fully vaccinated people, they get to be over here. They're segregating society, not just by race and all of these other things they're doing, not just by if you're a white Christian, which is the other thing we're hearing now, but now, are you vaccinated? You're going to get special treatment. The rest is for the unvaccinated, those poor people over there. It's coming. We saw it happen in Nazi Germany, but what's happening now is on a much grander scale, and James, it's global.
Amen. I mean, what else? What else can I say to that? I can't add anything else to that. You're 100% right. 100%, Tom. 100%. And that Dodger Stadium thing is a perfect example of where things are going. This has always been a social contract. The design has always been as such to where the level of totalitarianism that we're seeing is executed by the people and not necessarily by the government itself. Why? Because it is the government that receives consent by those that are governed. And in the United States of America, the fastest way to achieve that totalitarian result is to brainwash people into becoming those who provide consent based on fear and force.
Yep.
That's what's happening.
That's exactly what's happened. Jesus said that one of the signs after he said deception, he said nation would be against nation, meaning people group against people group, and that would rise exponentially. We are watching this. It's being forced upon us through the narrative that's coming through the mainstream woke media. They're going after businesses, they're going after churches, they're going after all of the public. They're going through every media outlet they possibly can. And then we think of this, put it all together in Revelation. We know the passage well. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, everybody. Causes all, small and poor, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except the one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. And there it is. I mean, so we watch everything that's for me. I wonder if this is going to get me kicked off of YouTube again. Strike three.
I hope not, bro.
We're gonna find out.
You're really telling the truth, you know? I mean, you're really telling the truth. That's what we're beginning to see happen, and it's absolutely crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah. This is going to be interesting. Well, we'll see. I mean, it's an interesting world. Well, James, it's been great with you today. I hope we both can stay on YouTube at least for a few more weeks. Oy vey. Hey, any final words you have for everybody?
Other than, guys, please just listen to me when I say this. Please be sober-minded about this stuff, you guys. Please just keep your eyes open and watch out for the truth. Don't accept the nonsense that you hear people say because it sounds good or because everybody is doing it. Always take the harder path, because the harder path always proves to be far more rewarding than anything you could possibly ever do to take a shortcut. Follow the truth, guys. Listen to the word of God. Don't allow anything else to govern you other than the word of God. Let the word of God be the very sole inspiration for everything that you believe and come to, because these people are not going to give you the hope that we are all looking for. The hope that we have is only found in one person, and that's in Jesus Christ. And we can't ever forget that.
Amen. Thank you very much. James, it was great again with you today. As always, I hope we can continue to do this until the rapture takes place.
Amen.
Oh, by the way, people, I think most people don't even know we have a Tuesday live on Facebook.
Yep.
Or Facebook.
Facebook and YouTube.
And
Our
YouTube.
YouTube, Calvary Chapel Signal Hill YouTube.
And it will be on my Facebook coming up this week too. Go ahead.
We went live on Tuesday, and since we went live on Tuesday, we're already breaking records. We had the largest number of simultaneous viewers that we've ever had. And I think right now on that live broadcast, I've got to go back and look at it. Matter of fact, let me just do that really quickly just to tell you. That live broadcast, we are approaching just about 13,000 views outside of the live broadcast. People are really enjoying that show, and it's a good one. It's a lot of fun. And the one that we did this last time was a doozy. We went over a lot on this one.
Yeah, it was. It's always fun with you. So now we're doing 2 a week that we're doing this. It's exciting. James, you know what else we should do? We should do another live one where we take questions live from people.
I'm down with that.
I don't know how we're going to work it into our schedules, but I think we should.
I would totally love that. Yeah, we could totally do that.
What don't you do?
Bro, I could do that. We'll make it work.
I mean,
we'll totally make it work.
I can make it work. I'm trying to figure out how you can make it work. Hey, thank you very much. So follow you on Instagram.
I don't know. I'm going to figure it out.
Instagram, James Cadiz. YouTube, Facebook, Calvary Chapel, Signal Hill.
Rumble.com/James Cadiz. Parlor.com/James Cadiz.
Wonderful. Hey, listen, I want to also encourage everybody watching this, go to hopeforourtimes.com. We are shortly going to be posting everything there. We do believe we'll have a server here within the next few weeks. So everything's going to be there. So please, hopeforourtimes.com. Plus, all the info you need is there. Even things that James and I do are there. So you can find everything there. And I don't have anything left to say. See ya.
We're coming to get you guys.
Okay. Bye, everybody. Shalom. Thanks for watching. Oh, share this. Yeah. See ya.